I'm now being joined on the program by a former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, a former presidential candidate in 2019, and a lawyer, Professor Kingsley Moghalu. He joins us from Lagos. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us tonight on the program.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharon.
Get your views straight away. Some who have criticized this position, as a lawyer, do you see any constitutional contradiction in what the Senate, for example, passed?
Yes, there is a massive contradiction, because INEC is a body established by the Constitution, and it's given its powers and its functions by the Constitution. And then there is no law that, if it contradicts the Constitution, I think should be able to stand. So the National Assembly may make laws, but they should make laws consistent with the Constitution. If the INEC is an independent electoral body, you cannot subject its work to the say-so of another body of government, in this case, the National Communications Commission. And even more unbelievably, the National Assembly itself. So the National Assembly wants to be a referee in a match in which it is one side. It is a player, because INEC oversees results, elections into the National Assembly. So for those results to take place, INEC itself has to certify has to go to the National Assembly for the Assembly to certify that it can use electronic transmission of results. It's obviously not a reasonable situation. So I do see a problem legally, constitutionally with this, because there is a case of nemo judex in causa sua. You cannot be a judge in your own cause, and the National Assembly is making itself a judge in its own cause. So that's one fundamental. The independence of institutions in our country is being excavated by these tortuous, contorting decisions. Now, practically speaking, INEC itself has told you and has told the whole country that it can transmit results electronically. And they've given you examples of what they've done. And some people are trying to tell us otherwise. The problem is that Nigeria, from this decision of the National Assembly, it is clear that what we have as what we call democracy is, government by politicians, for politicians, of politicians. The people of Nigeria do not matter to Nigeria's National Assembly or those who voted for this outcome. It's obvious. They're there to perpetuate themselves. They don't want any interference in the possibility of their perpetuating themselves. They want this to be selections, not elections. And some people clearly want to continue to come back to power through rigging elections. That's what this is all about. Nobody was born yesterday. And so it tells you how powerful, how desperate, how greedy the vested interests that are holding the people of this country down are. It's such a shame. This day will live in infamy. Go and mark it down. That this decision that the National Assembly has taken, the consequences of it will reverberate far into the future. And they will find out when it's too late that they shot themselves in the foot.
Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution, subsection 5 of that section, 1999 as amended, speaks volume about the inconsistency of our laws and the bodies of our laws, and how the supremacy of the ground norm, the Nigerian Constitution. And the Constitution also validly gives INEC the powers from section 71 to 79, precisely 78, which talks about the powers of INEC to be able to use its discretion in exercising its guideline in administering Nigerian elections. So the question here is whether or not the Harmonization Committee, when they make their conference, we agree to the condition that is being provided, the proviso that the INEC will have to rely on the NCC and the approval of the National Assembly to give permission to electronically transmit a result. The House did not pass it that way. It says it may, and some people have arguments that shall should be the word to be used there to concretize that position. But what do you see when these kind of contradictions come? For those who believe that Section 78 will override that Clause 52 and that can be challenged when any case arises, what do you foresee?
Well, I foresee that except the Harmonization Committee, create a clean bill that removes these conditions of the NCC and the National Assembly having to certify something before INEC can play its constitutional role. If that is not done, any legislation that carries this type of fundamental contradiction can be challenged up to the Supreme Court, and it should be challenged. And I believe the Supreme Court ought to rule such a law unconstitutional. There's no question in my mind about it. INEC should be allowed to do its job, period. And it is very clear some people don't want it to do its job. I mean, somebody spoke earlier on. I was deputy governor of the Central Bank, and I supervised the introduction of the bank verification number, where you now have reliable 40 million Nigerians with their data being able to undertake efficient payments transactions. We created the POS and electronic banking. So every aspect of life in this country is moving digital, including in my village. And somebody in the National Assembly is telling me about coverage here, coverage there. Come on, tell that to a 2-month-old baby.
Prof, another issue is that, as far as I know, I'm a journalist and I cover politics, so my expertise may not be in technology, but for the little that I know, as far back as 2010, there is such a technology, even a simple access control into an office where you use your thumb or you use your access card for control. It can store data and information into its server temporarily when there is an outage of connection or network, either Ethernet or internet, in such a way that when it is restored, it then comes back into its memory or functions normally. But the fears of the lawmakers who say, look, from their own side, because the governor of Nasarawa said earlier on that we might have better network in the south than we have in the northern region of the country. And we see the kind of insurgency in the northeastern region of the country. You heard what the Senate president also said, that we cannot have a situation where a country we go to vote is only half of the population that will vote. How do you explain this kind of situation? And politically, of course, the number in the National Assembly, when you have more people to vote, and that's what democracy is all about.
Yes, that's what democracy is all about. There's no question about it, but there's a question of whether the people are voting on behalf of the people or they're voting on behalf of their vested interest. That's the issue. And this is not a matter of, it's not a regional issue. Anybody trying to bring in North and South here, I don't think it's a fair conversation to pursue. There is nowhere in the world, not even in the United States or advanced countries, where electronic coverage is 100% all the time. There are places in the US you'll be traveling to, you may not have good network. It doesn't mean that electronic transmission of results will not be able to work. The INEC itself has assured you that they have different alternative ways as backups, to ensure a fair outcome for everybody in the country, no matter what part of the country you're in. That assurance from the body that the Constitution has given the mandate to see to it that our elections are credible should be enough. We don't need the National Assembly trying to micromanage INEC or trying to subject INEC to yet another body of government. So it obviously it's not a sensible legislation, and it does not promote good faith, even if the numbers may pass it. So we hope that the harmonization will sort this out. As you can see, this is a very unpopular piece of legislation. It's obvious, even to the people who have passed it. And the fact that some people, were conveniently absent, I think tells you something very good. And that is that Nigerians are gradually waking up to their rights. And that people were either dodging doing the right thing, some people, or some people did the wrong thing in defense of their vested interest, regardless of the consequences for public opinion and for democracy itself in Nigeria. So Nigerians are upset about this. And, I think we have not seen the end of this story. I don't think we have.
So Kingsley Moghalu, is always very good to draw out some of your expertise, whether it's in economics or is in law. Tonight is law, and thank you so much for sharing your views, perhaps for a story that is unending, and perhaps we will see more of it in the coming days. But sincere thanks to you for your time tonight, Professor Kingsley Moghalu.
You're welcome, Sharon. Thank you.
You're welcome, Sharon. Thank you.